Brown. I'm the product manager for the Cymap range of products, and I'd like to take you through some of the changes we've introduced for the new Cymap 2017 release. One of the first changes we've made is a visual viewer, so you can appreciate and view the building in 3D. It's a provisional viewer only. More functionality will appear in subsequent versions of Cymap as we develop the model in a 3D environment. And it's just a case of playing around with the elevations. You can view it above and below, and you can just rotate it and view it to check the integrity of your building in terms of 3D. You get to that from the changing view menu and the little view in 3D option. We now have the addition of a more comprehensive valve symbol library. Before we only had a gate valve and a regulating valve. Now you're able to place all sorts of different types of valve. So you can see here we've got a listing of all sorts of different types of valve that you can place on the layout with all the various properties. If they're electrical, then you can tick the motorized option, and that will enable you to transfer the electrical details across in the electrics program. These valves will then translate across into a Revit symbol library, so it's part of our new template for the Cylink, which is the Revit add-on. We have a much more comprehensive library of valves. There's reasonable generic interpretations of valves, so here you can see a typical commissioning valve, which then enables the engineer to swap out the existing valve type for the actual manufacturer's part later on as part of the Revit process matures. Another new addition to the Cylink program is the addition of the public health. Up to date, you've been able to export the ductwork and the heating and chilled water pipe work. Now the new edition of public health is available, so you can see here a typical layout in a hotel. You can export to the Revit via the Cylink application, so here we can see a layout of public health, in this case the hot water circulating return, which again you can mix in with the federated model for coordination purposes. So you now have the full functionality with the hot and cold water services, which you can export as well. Continuing with the electrical development, we are now exporting all our light fittings across from Cymap into Revit via the Cylink. So all your lighting design and coordination can be realised in Revit by coordinating. In this case you can see the lighting positions in conjunction with the grill registers, having coordinated them initially in Cymap. All the electrical data comes across as well, with a view to later on cabling these up in some further development that we'll undertake in Cylink next year. Electrically, we now have the ability to split boards, as here you can see two types of split board, either fed from a bus coupler or actually split internally. And also we have the ability to set up an essential and a non-essential switch panel, so you can see here the essential switch panel at the top and the non-essential switch panel at the bottom, feeding the various essential and non-essential supplies. There have been some new additions to the latest Amendment 3 of the 2016 database, namely the addition of methods A and B for single and multi-core cables. So that's been included based on the latest updates from the IET. We've also updated the generic BS88 devices to the BS88 Type 2s for use in DC and AC situations. So each of the generic types of BS88 breaker on each of the CPD databases has also been updated, so where the user is creating a photovoltaic array with an inverter, those fuses are now being set up as a suitable device. A new feature we've added in the electrics program is the ability to feed final circuit boards from a main distribution board. In the past we've only looked at final boards and their final incumbent circuits, but now we're able to feed and develop the layout of the boards on the floor plan, where you can feed a final board from sub-main boards and you can link sub-main boards together. And also in the wiring program, if you set up your initial boards using the same references that you do on the floor plan, as you develop the project on the floor plan, the program will automatically translate that data across to the distribution boards and update the schematic. So for example, in a pre-tender situation where you may be just setting up a schematic layout with certain board references, if later on down the line you get the tender and you win the bid and you get involved in the subsequent design, provided you keep the board references the same, as you develop the floor plan model, then the wiring schematic will be updated based on the floor plan. So there's been significant changes into the electrics program for this latest 2017 version.